Welcome back, Anthony. This is great to have you on board to talk about health in general, to have like an open frame. So tell me, what's been going on with you in Melbourne with all the lockdowns?
A very up and down roller coaster at the moment, if that's the best way to sum it up in a sentence, really. It's basically been just going through peaks and troughs. Like I said, periods where you're going really well, and just as you think that you're getting some momentum and getting back into it, it's you hit with another lockdown, and then you're sort of back to square one, and then having to try and find it again. It's basically been what this year's in general has been like, just a really up and down roller coaster.
Yeah, it's incredible that this time around, a lot of people are just for no reason that they understand, they just start crying, uncontrollably crying for an hour or 2 hours, and they just don't know what's wrong. And I really get concerned about the isolation because with your health, it affects everything you do. If you're really healthy and feeling well, you'll tackle projects, you'll face into challenges, you'll do all sorts of things. But when your health is out of whack and you're isolated, people are experiencing anxiety and panic attacks. And as a counsellor, I seem to be addressing more of that at this point in time. Yeah. What about you in the fitness industry? How are you staying in touch with your clients?
Well, in terms of staying in touch, it's just basically message and phone calls and just having an open door if anyone wants to speak. Normally, again, gyms and any fitness that you do tends to be an outlet from, or basically an escape from the real world when it comes to work, family, or anything along those lines. And unfortunately, when you take that outlet away, again, people struggle.
Yeah.
That one thing that takes their mind off it, it actually makes it worse when it's not available to them. And like I said, going from clientele and as well myself personally, I think we've all gone through that stage where we just become a bit emotional wreck, and obviously that uncertainty of what's going to happen in the future, or how long is this prolonged rest or break going to take, is just sort of, again, it takes a bit more of a toll than just being told that you're not doing anything. Like I said, actually probably means a bit more than just this is a break from everything.
Yeah. You are a health and fitness and wellness coach and personal trainer. And would you say that this has pushed you over into the realm of dealing with mental health as well?
Yeah, I think it's sort of crossed that line a bit now. I think, again, these basically these periods just, it shows people's raw emotions and they start coming out. And again, people find it hard to sort of control. And like I said, it's the exercise is one thing, but there's also that mental aspect when it comes to exercising, and that's when obviously those emotions come out. Or like again, when it comes to any of that, like the focus is slightly off, or that motivation is slightly off. Like I said, just little hindering factors here and there, but again, it's enough that it's noticeable. And like I said, it's just one of those things that those raw emotions start coming out more now, especially in these inconsistent times, rather than pre-COVID, when everything was a bit more consistent, everything was a bit more streamlined. I think we sort of knew what the future was bringing, but now, unfortunately, we don't.
Yeah. It's a whole new world now because what I find in my particular line of work, that I have to remain open and flexible to provide services to others, to keep myself fit and healthy, and keep my weight under control, and also to not succumb to isolation, because isolation is one way that people get broken off from their purpose and their meaning and their societal community infrastructure. Community has been severely damaged through this. And what I am hopeful is to start to promote more community, more cross pollination of people, at least getting online together in groups and talking and holding holding the space for each other. I'm getting calls from people all over the world at the moment that are going through anxiety and depression and isolation sickness, which has not been yet defined, but I call it isolation sickness because anybody who's isolated too long will start to show signs of wear and tear. Have you found that the people you know that are in isolation are showing signs of wear and tear?
Look, to some degree, I think it's one of those things where you only know if that person actually wants to show it. And it's one of those things where you've just got to find that fine act between sort of trying to probe into it and sort of waiting for them to sort of open up when it comes to those scenarios. But like I said, it's one of those things where if you're isolated and you're being basically told that you can't do something, again, it's a lot more different when you had that decision and you have that power to make that decision. But when someone else is making that decision for you, like, again, it's one of those things where it's so unpredictable that, again, it's one of those things where you just can't handle it. And it's one of those things where you just find it hard to adapt. I think that's probably the big thing that people are probably struggling with at the moment, is just adapting into the circumstances that we're in right now. As much as it is unfortunate, but
something I've given thought to is that there is all this telehealth and online training and personal training, but what should also be encouraged, in my view, people who worked out together before in the gyms should be working out together online. So if you've got a gym buddy that you hang out with, that accountability and that camaraderie should be encouraged and embellished and supported by, say, setting up a group, either 2, 3, 4 people who can share online and go through one as a leader leading an exercise or a class, because the personal trainers are there to help. But what about the people who have one personal training session a week? Exercising once a week is great, but in lockdown, it should actually be more, not less. So I feel people should be interacting with each other in an exercise fashion online as well as socially. What do you think?
Yeah, to some degree, that's correct. Again, I think it's just having that communication back and forth. Obviously, for me as a personal trainer with my clients, is obviously been having that open communication when it comes to, I guess, yes, exercise. Again, it's obviously a bit more different not being there face to face. And I think a lot of people do appreciate sort of having that social interaction, that physical interaction with the person in front of you. Obviously, it's a bit more different when we're told that we can't actually be seeing each other, because obviously the circumstances in Melbourne. But again, look, I said, it's the communication becomes different. It's either that's a phone call, a message, or like what we're having right now, just one of these Zoom meetings.
Yeah, an open chat. Yeah. The other thing too is that personal training has a connotation around it that you go to a gym and you're shown exercises. You do far more than that. You do a lot of postural correction, and I guess some of it is very similar to exercise physiology. So where you're addressing people's challenges that are inside your scope of practice, people are missing out from therapeutic support from you. And I feel that that's a real tragedy that the personal training industry doesn't have a next step qualification where people can step up and start to address some of the physical challenges in people and remain within their scope of practice. Because what I missed from you was all the legwork that you were restoring my knees, and I've gone backwards so far on that, it's not funny. And since I started helping out a friend doing a bit of house painting and I'm up and down ladders again, I'm finding, wow, what a challenge on my knees. But thank God I'm doing that, because otherwise I would go to ground zero. So what are your, do you have some good tips for people while they're at home that they can do to stay fit and healthy?
I think any form of movement is important. I think if you can limit the amount of stationary time and again, make the most of a bad situation. Especially now, I think the last couple of days have been really good with weather-wise. Just being outdoors is just it's something simple, but at least it's a start. Again, nothing. Okay, and obviously you're not going to get the same stimulation as what you would in the gym compared to what you would at home. But again, any muscle stimulation is still better than nothing. Again, don't have to set world records, don't have to set PBs as what you were in a gym environment. Just being active and having some form of movement is better than nothing. And again, unfortunately, it could be easy, especially in a home environment. You can obviously choose to sit on the couch. When you've got all those things there in front of you, you can you've got those leeways and distractions where you can sometimes take the easier options. But I think it's just sort of just having that challenge within yourself, like you would in the gym where you try and push those boundaries. Same thing in a home scenario, just try and push those boundaries. And it's just as simple as just having those active times throughout the day. And again, if you know that you're watching TV, having that break in between, so at least you're increasing that amount of active time. So I think that's where people struggle, is more when you're inactive. And again, when you're inactive, you just have that drive to do something. But if you're trying to get that active goals, and like I said, it doesn't have to be repetitions or how hard you're working, just could be a time factor. Something as simple as that, just setting a time that you want to be active doing something, that's probably more than enough to actually hit some goals whilst you're at home.
It's called incidental exercise. For instance, 3 months ago, I fell off the ladder and I damaged my ribs and broke my trapezium in my right hand. And prior to that fall, I was in the gym 3-4 times a week and being trained by you once a week and doing other things. And I was ripped. I was killing it. Remember all those sets of deadlifts? It was going well, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't move from the fall for about 4 weeks. The punch in the side where the ribs hit, I thought I'd broken them, but I hadn't. But I couldn't believe how I deteriorated so quickly. Now, from incidental exercise point of view, in that deterioration, when I went, my friend who has got the painting business and asked him to help him on a few houses while COVID's going down because he can't get workers, and we've got a construction permit to work. I was dying the first couple of weeks. It was killing me. Now I'm flying up and down the ladders and I'm back to normal. And he said he's going to send me the bill for rehab. He said, I have to send you a bill for rehab. But it's true. Like, I'm 68, so the message to people out there my age is use it or you lose it. Keep moving, stretching. I mean, you wouldn't believe how strenuous painting is. I mean, it's not just getting up and down ladders and reaching up high. You get into all these awkward positions. You're on your knees. The amount of, lunges and step-ups and God knows what you do. I was varnishing some wood, applying clear as it's put onto wood, and I'd start at the top and I'd lean right down and almost touch my toes because it was lent on the ground. 130 poles in a day. I mean, no one does that in the gym. No one. So I come home, I couldn't believe how flexible. I was hammered for about 3 or 4 weeks. I really was hammered. But now I just fly through the day and I got my fitness and alertness back. So, yeah, keep it. So all these people who are in isolation, especially my age, they're in serious trouble. Serious trouble. I'm just surprised that the government is not funding and promoting and advertising self-care and exercise and nutrition. I mean, we're hearing none of that. All we're hearing is fear-mongering and pro or anti-vax. We're not hearing how to take care of yourself, how to build your immune system, how to stay sane, suggestions. I put 12 steps during lockdown to take care of yourself. It was one of my first videos. It did nothing in the early days. Now people are going back and watching it and saying thank you in the comments because you've got to have a regime of adapting to this new lifestyle. Have you thought of protocols that you could put out to your clients, like a sheet of information that you could say during this time, these are some things you can take care of yourself, like, of course, the pillars, sleep, make sure you get the right amount of sleep. A lot of people are getting drained out on Netflix. The other thing, of course, nutrition, that at least they're eating good, wholesome food, hydration, and of course, incidental exercise if they can't do machine or structured exercise. At least they can do some incidental exercise. Well, I just think people are struggling psychologically and emotionally. There needs to be a mental gym now of how to cope with this isolation, with this disconnect. I think there's a cross section of the physicality, of course, exercise and physical health, but mental health is a direct correspondence. What are you doing to stay sane yourself?
Oh, like I said, I'm lucky that I've actually got like a home gym set up. So, like I said, I've got that outlet there that I can sort of continue my training as well. But also, like I said, doing the online stuff with clients and sort of keeping tabs of them. So at least I'm still, again, doing work stuff without having the physical, obviously the physical contact. But obviously elaborating from what you were saying in terms of the whole mental stimulation as well. And I think physical exercise is one of those things that helps with that mental stimulation. And again, I know it's obviously a lot more different scenario when you're not in a controlled environment like the gym. I think obviously it's a lot harder in a home environment because, again, your mindset, your focus, and obviously what you've done in terms of repetition wise and like habitually, that you find the gym that place where you can actually switch on that mental stimulation compared to obviously at home, where, again, it's hard to differentiate between the two, where a home and a gym, they're two separate things that now you're trying to sort of blend into one. And I think that's the hard thing that people tend to really struggle with. And I think that's where you don't have that same mental stimulation because you're not able to switch off, obviously, the difference between a home and gym setting because they've been separate prior to, obviously, the COVID situation that we're in, and obviously prior to lockdowns as well. And I think I said this obviously comes down to adapting to it as well. Well, but I think it's like you said, that incidental exercise is obviously a key thing. And then again, I think being active and having some mental stimulus is enough to take your mind off, obviously, the situation that's happening. And I think that's the thing, is just trying to find those little things that we can do just to take mind of, again, very unfortunate circumstances that we probably all agree or disagree is the best solution to this. But like I said, it's just adapting and trying to find and trying to tweak what we need to actually get through this. And like I said, try and make this as normal as possible.
Well, I was also catching up with my daughter Naomi at City Fitness on a Friday, 2 or 3 times a week. Her and I were at least connecting, which the gym was a medium for a relationship. So I got friends at the gym, I got family at the gym. So that's been disconnected. I've got an isolation bubble, so I can go for a walk with 1 or 2 of them. But it's really interesting. I am releasing a video tomorrow. It's a short film called The Bonsai Effect. So that will be launched at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Won't matter to people watching this because this will come up after that. But I find that I've also gone and I'm doing an EFT, emotional freedom technique, a tapping course to supplement my neuro-linguistic programming. I'm doing NLP. So I've taken on some mental gymnastics as well as doing the physical stuff. So I'm getting a holistic approach to some sort of normal stimulation, because the lack of stress can be just as debilitating as the excess of stress. So you need a certain amount of challenge and stress in your life to stay in the zone. Have you found that yourself?
Yeah, it's trying to find that happy medium between the two. And I think that's again, obviously one of those hard things that we sort of go through our whole life trying to chase is trying to find that happy medium of trying to find the right stimulus, but obviously not getting too caught up on it, where again, you become too tunnel vision and become too focused on it. And your mindset just focus on that one thing that you completely blank out all the other things that are happening in your life. Um, yeah, look, it's one of those things where, again, it's just trying to find that happy medium between all of it. And look, me personally, obviously with work, it's one of those things where obviously being self-employed, you just try and get as much work as possible. But
Yeah.
obviously being a dad and obviously having a 20-month-old, you still got to find that right balance with family as well. And also
How's that going?
work. Yeah, it's going really well. Just it's like I said, probably the only highlights with obviously lockdowns is get to spend more time with my daughter, which is fantastic. And obviously wouldn't have had this opportunity if it wasn't obviously if it was normal. So again, I said something simple as that. Again, just changes the mindset. Obviously, what happens in isolation is like, yes, work scenario shut down, and obviously I can't be doing that at full capacity what I'm doing now. But the other avenue in my life, which is obviously being a dad, I can sort of put that focus in there. So it's all about really just shifting that balance from one side to the other, but at least it's still not in that extreme on either side.
Have you had any inquiries from your new website?
Yeah, so I got a couple,
Oh,
and not
good.
only with the website as well, but even with even the people I see, obviously with footy clubs and cricket clubs that I'm with as well. Obviously having conversations about fitness and again, people actually willing to try it out. So it's just obviously that exposure, and obviously the website helps as well.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when is lockdown being extended again.
Again, I couldn't tell you. It could be
It's
one of
hard to
those.
follow on the websites and last minute snaps this way and that way.
Yeah, for
But
all we know, it could be one of those ones again, just on the last minute one. But
yeah,
again, look, try not to think too far ahead of it. Like I said, once the decision's made, then we'll see what happens. But
yeah.
again, like I said, it's all out of my hands and all out of all our hands, really.
Well, the 11th of August, which is 2 days' time, my right hand will have presumably had the 3 months it needs to get back to normal. But I'll have to ease into it slowly and take real light weights on the forearm. This way is okay, but this way is a challenge on the downward pull on the thumb. So I'm just going to take it easy when I come back and work into it.
You know, I'll look after you, Freddie. Don't you worry about that. I'll
Yeah,
get you
you'll
whatever
handle me.
position comfortable for you to do anything. So don't you worry about that.
Well, this, I'm talking now with Anthony Salomon from City Fitness and Three Elements Fitness. And Anthony is a personal trainer extraordinaire with an incredible range of talents in postural correction. And what else?
Any sport specific training or just any techniques in terms of getting the best out of yourself? I'm probably the man to ask.
Yeah, well, I know from a technique perspective of doing the exercises, you're an absolute stickler for perfection, which it it didn't frustrate me in the beginning, but it took me a while to see where we were going with it. But now that I've got the benefits of being able to really do some reasonable weights and not feel strain or stress in my lower back or all those tricks you show me about straightening my knees and bent legs, and now I can keep everything in alignment. That is the pièce de résistance. It's really cool the way you've trained me, and I highly recommend for people looking for a personal trainer with a difference that isn't just going to push you through flywire, that's going to actually give you insight and wisdom so you can control your own exercise in the absence of a personal trainer. I highly recommend people get in touch with Anthony. This was an informal, impromptu chat with Anthony tonight that we could just catch up and share our views with the public of how we feel about isolation, lockdown, and fitness during these incredible times. Is there any final message that you want to give our viewers?
Look, I think then, look, at the end of the day, I think it's very tough on everyone. And I think we've all going through ups and downs at the moment. But look, I think it's just, as humans, I think one of the best factors we've got is we're persistent. And I think if we just keep persisting, and I think just keep trying to make the best out of a bad situation, I think we'll all get through this. And like I said, hopefully it gets better sooner than later. But I think we're very resilient. And again, look, I think the biggest thing is just talk to someone. If you're emotionally down, again, got a few demons in your head or anything like that, just talk to anyone. Again, don't bottle it up. Again, be open, because there's always someone there that's willing to listen. And there's always going to be someone there to actually help you and have you back in those scenarios and help you as best as you can. So again, I think that's really the final message I've got, is just be open. Like I said, there's someone there to listen to you.
That's great advice, because I've offered my services to people who just want a chat. I said, I'm not soliciting clients or looking for money. I'm just here for people that don't know who to talk to, that can talk to me. And I've had some really incredible, amazing chats with people all over the world that just needed one or two talks, and they seem to be back on track and just checking in now and then. And it's not an expense to me to talk to somebody for 10, 15 minutes here and there. But the difference it makes in their lives is phenomenal, because now they feel they've got some sort of connection point, rather than just trying to deal with it all in their own head. That's when you get into trouble. That's when the panic attacks come, and the anxiety is when you're trying to deal with it all inside your own head. We're a community, we're a human race, we're a social being. We need not just social media, but we need social connection.
Yeah.
The amount of people that haven't been touched or had a hug in such a long time. So yeah, we've got to look out for each other and try to make a difference where we can. Well, thanks for that, Anthony, and I'll be looking forward to our next structured talk on a particular topic. But tonight was a bit of fun, where we just thought we'd lash out and say hello to people. Be encouraged, stay positive, eat good food. We talked about incidental exercise, and as Anthony says, don't bottle it up. Talk to somebody and keep moving. And if you go to Anthony's website, you will find information there on www.3elementsfitness.com.au. And remember to subscribe, hit the bell, all that sort of stuff. And you'll find other training videos that Anthony's done on our channel, and a whole gamut of other health professionals offering information and insights. Thanks, Anthony, for your time.
No worries. Thanks, Freddie.